Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And Subtlety Rogue has finally gotten a significant amount of attention when it comes to the next expansion, Midnight. It has been incredibly simplified. So the purpose of today's video is to debut that simplification and talk about some of the new and exciting things that are coming to Subtlety Rogue and possibly some of the issues as well that it could have moving forward. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, for Subtlety Rogue, the first thing that we're going to want to look at is basically the spellbook, because a lot of stuff is gone. So the first thing you're going to notice is Rupture, which was a bleed that you applied, so you no longer have dot management. Now, a lot of Subtlety Rogues are feeling like this is, you're losing a core part of the rotation. I'm kind of like a Subtlety Rogue alter. I'm never really like dedicating a huge amount of time to it. I haven't really noticed it too negatively from my perspective. However, I do understand from playing other classes, when you lose some sort of core mechanic, that it does kind of feel like it's missing something, and it does make it feel a lot simpler. Like, you don't need to like preemptively set up Rupture before you start doing your burst. You can kind of just immediately go, but I kind of like just being able to immediately go at the same time. So that's where I'm kind of sitting on that with the removal of Rupture. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. As somebody who mains a rogue, or somebody who wants to check out a rogue but it was like too overbearing and too difficult and nuanced, how does that seem to you? Do you think that's a good change, a negative change? I'll be running through the rotation here on the training dummy in just a moment. The next thing is Symbols of Death. Now, I'm somebody who's pretty like anti multiple cooldown stacking. It's just like there's two, like between Subtlety, between Shadow Dance, and then between symbols, like figuring out lining them all up and tracking their cooldowns independently, and then modifiers and one shots. It's just like, it's too much. Like, it's way too much. So basically what they've done is they've like fused symbols and Shadow Dance together, because you'll see right here, which probably seems wild if you've played a rogue in the past, your Shadow Dance is a 20-second recharge with 2 charges, so that's a significantly lower cooldown. And the main reason they've done that is because they've removed cooldown reduction as a whole, so you don't have to worry about that, like making sure how many combo points you're spending, how much uptime are you getting to reduce to the next cooldown in order to do all this. You don't have to worry about that. All this stuff's gone, so you don't got to worry about cooldown management as much. You don't have to worry about dot management basically at all. Those two core mechanics are gone. Shadow Blades does still remain, and it's at a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's still a very significant portion of your damage at the moment, from what I've noticed. Now, obviously, from the PvP testing that I've done, at least, on-use trinket and proc trinket and basically all the PvP trinkets are bugged, and they give you way too many stats in arena or instanced PvP combat. I kind of wonder if it actually does in dungeons. I should test a dungeon with it, if it's all instanced content or not. But it's basically causing everybody to one-shot each other. So it's kind of hard to tell how much of the damage is coming from where exactly with testing. But basically, Subtlety Rogue is like this front-loaded kind of just like hit spec, as opposed to setting up bleeds and trying to finesse all these cooldowns together. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier. So I think that might be the correct approach. It kind of does feel like they're making you more like a demon hunter, right? Where you're just kind of like spamming damage, and do you have a stun? Let's stun something and do damage, making it a little bit more like a demon hunter. Now, I'm wondering if they're doing that in the hopes that more people are going to play the specialization, because generally I think Rogue is considered to be, down there in the popularity, and I think for a lot of players, they think it's because it's too complicated to play. So if they make it simpler, maybe that's going to bring more players into it. Unfortunately, out of all of the builds that I've tried, this is the build that was recommended to me by Naj. Is definitely the strongest build I've tried so far. I was really hoping to have some like Weapon Master, Gloom Blade, because there's a lot of talents where after Shadow Dance ends, you get like all this like bonus damage. So I was trying to make like a build where you kind of like use Gloom Blade a little bit more, but it just felt very weak. It just didn't really feel like it was doing a lot. There's a lot of talents that like amplify your shadow damage. So I was trying to make like a shadow damage Gloom Blade rogue, because these new Apex talents where you have shadow techniques that can summon in these jujitsu clones basically that start slashing the target, which are cool. You'll definitely notice them when you're attacking the training dummy here in a moment. But unfortunately, it just kind of felt like there's probably going to be like a one-trick build, and unfortunately not a lot of like nuance between that. Unfortunately, at the moment, new talent here under construction. There are also talents that still have Rupture in the name at this current point in the beta, so either they're keeping it there as a placeholder to test this removal, because they've done this with some other classes where they remove stuff and add stuff back depending on the reaction to it. But they will obviously have to update like hero talent trees and anything that's in relation to Rupture if this is something that they do decide to commit to and go for. Another major change is that Subtlety no longer provides mastery. So again, with the cooldown stacking, it's just purely an energy management tool, as opposed to line this up with your dance and then do big one shot. So it's a little, I think I like it better as an energy resource. And then like the left tree is like solely focused around energy regeneration. So if you want to be getting more energy regen, you can go down that side. If you want to be getting more stuns, defense, right side, defense, mid side, crits, combo point modifiers in terms of your overall damage. That's kind of where you're going to want to be going. As far as like pruning, you're keeping most of your stuff. You still have Shiv, you still have Gouge. Basically, it's just the stun DR changes that you're really going to need to make sure you're staying on top of, where you can only stun a target 2 times now and it goes immune. I think in PvE, though, they're making it so that you can like infinitely stun, except it goes down to like a millisecond duration. So stuns just basically count as kicks in dungeon situations, which I thought was interesting. But let's just go onto the training dummy for a second. So I've got my Shadow Blades macroed into my cheap shot, and I've got my phone going off here, so I'm gonna need to just go grab my phone really quick. I don't know who's calling me. Who's calling? Whoa. Looks like he stopped calling me. Maybe it's one of those like bot advertisers, and I never answer, so they've finally given up. Maybe they're finally throwing in the towel. But here I've got my blades macroed into my cheap shot, so that if I cheap shot a target, I'm just immediately sending basically all my damage. And then Shadow Dance, Gorma, Secret Technique gets you a big Secret Technique hit. And you can see all these little shadow clones kind of summoned in here as I'm spending my combo points. You see them like attacking off to the side, these like bladed ninjas. They add a little bit of extra damage to the target. They add a little bit of extra AoE damage. But basically your rotation is use Gloomblade or Backstab or Shuriken if AoE, get enough combo points to eviscerate, and you're just going 2-button rotation, right? You're just spamming Gloomblade, eviscerate, until you have Secret Technique, and then you can dance, and then you can Shadow Strike, Secret Technique, Shadow Strike when you're in stealth. So you do get a little bit of a rotation change there. Instead of Gloomblade when you're in Shadow Dance, you'll spam Shadow Strike. When you're out of it, Gloomblade, eviscerate, Gloomblade, eviscerate, and it's like a 2-button rotation. So it's like, this is dramatically simplified. Really, the only complicated part is that Gormaz amplifies the damage of your next 3 finishing moves. So if you dance on the target, Gormaz, and then Secret Technique, eviscerate, you get a big combo of damage. That is where like the nuance of knowing how to line up your cooldowns will come into play. But outside of that, it's just a 2-button rotation, whether it's Shadow Strike Evis or it's Gloomblade Evis, and then that's basically all you're doing. And then on top of that, obviously, you've got your crowd control effects, the gouges, the blinds, the stuns that you're still going to be tracking. It looks like they've actually added the stuns to the health bars here. These stuns were not there on players yesterday. I don't know if this is only on training dummies, but when I was on players, those were definitely not there. I do like that. I think it's a better enhancement. So basically, you're getting these shadow clones, and you've got a very simplified 2-button rotation with like a couple of cooldowns with Shadow Blades and Dance that you can kind of stack on top of each other, and then obviously Gormaz to combo in there. So I personally don't mind this version, but I'm not somebody who mains Rogue, right? I'm not somebody who mains Rogue, but I kind of like this, just having Dance pretty frequently, being able to do damage all of the time, as opposed to like waiting in the corner and trying to line all the cooldowns up to one-shot somebody. It feels a little bit more like combat engagement nuanced than the previous version of Rogue. Now I could see, maybe Rupture, maybe it does come back, but my initial reaction to it is that this is kind of fine. Like, they wanted to simplify things, right? Like we all wanted to make it a little bit easier, a little bit more simplified. This is way more simplified, and still has a little bit of like subtlety nuance to it with the Gorma amps to your combo points to think about, which does give you something more than just going 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, and then it's like, how am I going to line up my Gormas? Which finishers am I going to try and juice up? Type of deal. Obviously, like, set bonus is really passive, just more damage on your cooldowns. Nothing really complicated there to take into account for it, but it's really simple. It's really simple. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. That's my take of it. I kind of think that it's pretty chill like this. I like the layout of the talent tree. Only thing is, I wish there was a little bit more build variety. They played around with like this haste thing with Shadow Dance, and I feel like it's kind of just like fallen off, and I don't know if it's going to come back or not. It's one of those things where it's like, this is either tuned so it's better, and then that's what you always play, or it's tuned so it's worse, so you never play it type of deal. Unfortunately, right? Like you can only have distinct niches. Like one is for AoE, one's for single target. If this build and that build are both single target, one of them does more damage than the other, you play the one that does more damage. So unless they can come up with like a niche use case situation, I don't know what you can really do. And because they've reduced the cooldown of Shadow Dance now so low, this kind of like Gloomblade Weapon Master style where you're spamming damage out of dance, it's like you're almost never not in dance. Like, so it's like, how much time are you actually spending out of dance to get this benefit versus in dance? And it's just be better to get the talents and amp your damage while you're actually in Shadow Dance, type of deal. But it's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier. I'm about to make a tier list on like which ones are the easiest specs, because Subtlety for a long time has been considered to be one of the most complicated specs in the game, but I think this makes it substantially easier. But that's my breakdown of the Subtlety Rogue and the rework, my thoughts on it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.